their swords and they were jumping, and this was people, very wild people. And so he couldn't do anything else than send a beam to shock them. He gave them kind of like an electricity shock, not to kill them, just to make them fall down, relax, and become a little bit calm. So he kind of stunned them to maybe lose consciousness for a little bit, so that they were able to land and step out of it and show them that they still looked human, even if they were not a copy of them. They still looked human. And he decided that the best way that he could reach through them was to keep his calm, being in his high level energy, understanding these people and being very, very kind. So he started to speak to them in a very soft, calm way, letting them know that they came in peace, that they were not their enemies, and they were not anything they had to be scared of. And he had to show them a little bit of magic, and he kind of got them fascinated by them, and they let them be with them. So the people of Thoth, they stayed with these people. I believe that this is the Native Americans that they were staying with, because he's speaking of a hairy race. And I believe because the Native Americans did have long hair, I do not think it is hair like a fur. I think it is the Native Americans, because the Mayan has the same stories. So they could have had a fleet that was spread out through another continent. And these people, they let them into their heart. And Master Thoth and his people, they did as much as they could possibly do for these people. They taught them, they trained their minds, they trained them to become more clever, they showed them how to do things easier, but they also helped them to rebuild by using their own knowledge. So these people that they are helping are actually evolving very quickly and becoming something that we might be a little bit stunned over today if we would look back in time and not realizing that they had another civilization around them, teaching them what was going on. And as things proceed, generation after generation shows Thoth that his teaching is giving results, and he's deciding at that time when he land the ship that he's going to teach them, that he's going to do a good job, he's going to be doing God's work. And he keeps himself in that energy, which is amazing. And to me, I find it to be an individual that is out of this world. And I am right by saying that. But I do not mean out of this world in personality. I mean letting yourself be to the point where you sacrifice everything for time and for helping new individuals and really loving to help them grow, expand, and having fun doing it, but not using them. It is the most beautiful that we could have as a gift from outer space. I have to add, this is a king of the true measurement. this is a king that has never walked the earth after. I believe that these people have a lot of technology that would be surprising for people when it comes to life and death. And I will get back into the story, and you should follow me because I am going to bring you through the life of Thoth, the life back then with Thoth. And so he stays there and he sees generation after generation coming to life, and the old dies and their sons becomes a little bit more evolved. So he sees that his what he teaches them is actually giving him a result that is actually quite amazing to him. And after years has passed by, it could be like, because it starts a legend about him being immortal, because he's still there and he hasn't grown that old. He's still a young man, and he feels that after quite some time that maybe he should go back to the site where they used to live and see if there is something to be restored, especially about the power source. So he tries to meditate, trying to reach this power source. It's almost like, if we would say, like a computerized source. We do have computers to almost everything today, so it is not so crazy thinking that you would need a computer to actually navigate out in space, right? So he tries to connect with the power source, but it's sleeping. It is not dead, but it's been sleeping all time. And he has the codes to be able to connect in that frequency. It's almost like organic technique that can be connected with one individual that has the right codes. But if something is malfunction, it might not be easy to reconnect or get this to become awaken again. And he tries and he tries and he doesn't reach the source. But he decides for maybe thousands of years to go back to the site, as there has been possibly a nuclear explosions. It was maybe not inhabited back then, so they had to wait. And just before he goes back to look for the power source, his people, after several years, thousands of years together with those people on that continent, they wanted to move further, find more behind the, if the grass was greener on the other side, so to say. And this is where the legends are spread from one civilization to another, from one continent to another. They did have their ships with them. So he let them go out to the world, and with the hopes that they will spread the knowledge, that they will change human race in the way of giving them a quicker ascension, so that they would be able to connect with activating DNA and everything, the Kundalini, everything that we know of today. Because when we activate all of this chakra system, everything, we become in a higher frequency, and it gives us accessible reach to information. And there is today a lot of people that do not want the earth, humankind, to access this information because they are, for different reason, gaining on keeping people not expanding in consciousness. These are people that have already made sure they have a fort to retract to, so they will never be in any despair if something would happen. But let's get back to the story. So he decided to take his ship and go back and see what happened, how things are, and he gets back to the place to just find it to be underwater. And when he left that world, when everything was exploding, he saw the last temple that they had going down in the water in the flood. And so now he saw that everything was gone. It was no longer on earth. It has sunk down. And so this was a very dangerous mission because he needed to get to the main source, because otherwise they can't expand, they can't do what they need to do, they can't it's the technique. They need the technique, simple as that. So he either, I believe, because he's talking about, it might not be a mask, but it could be like a vehicle that he could use to go down very deep in the sea, and using a diving mask to go outside, because the people that was around him, the humankind, they were too afraid to do this. They couldn't swim, and so he they looked at him with very big eyes when he started to actually dive down into the grounds. But to reach those depths, he had to have some sort of vehicle, and the ship was up, still in the air. So they might have had some technique to use from the ship to be able to lower themselves into such deep, and then being able in that deep to maybe build, because he's speaking about building or digging out a circular plate or plateau where he's going to put a device so he can explode everything, so he can get in, because he found the pathway into his through the ruins, but everything was all over, so he couldn't get into it, and it's super dangerous to even think about swimming in there. So he started to dig, and he had time to dig because he's using this mechanic thing, so he can dig it through until he comes to a certain point where he's able to put this device. But to get an explosion to happen inside of the sea, he needs to use the UFO. He needs to use a beam that is pointed from the ship down to this device with a precise measurement. And they do that, and it explodes and open up, so they are able to get into what is left. And this is where my story stops today, and I will be back and telling more what happened with this civilization and how they became a legend of living. There is a legend of living inside the earth, Agatha. There are legends about Lemurian, there are legends about Atlantis, there are legends about the people that lives down in the sea. You have seen UFOs coming up of the sea, but it is I find all of this not to be such a big, amazing, strange things. It is actually quite logic, as we can look back and look at Earth and our creations, and we know that the people of Egypt could not produce those pyramids. And as we as a people get more advanced, we do find as different sites when they dig out, they find they are able to dig deeper, which changes everything. So, with these explosions, they are very deep. That is why they are finding stairways, they are finding statues, and they might be in different layers on the ground, so to say, in the sea level. And it is just because it became this explosion and it's kind of lay under and under and under. And then time, so it could have things that were standing in one that actually was standing strong against one flood or one explosion, could finally erupt as well, but on another level. And that is why I think that things might be a little bit confusing. But it is like with everything, there is new knowledge, it's new information, and we need to cooperate it and understand without being in a position of, no, it cannot happen, no, it's not possible. It is not possible for Neanderthals to build temples. It is not possible for people before Jesus walked the earth to build temples. That is not possible. I am Eva Paradis, and I will be back with more of the story of Thoth.